We are going to move on now to our next question. I know for sure we'll get through this one. We'll see if I have enough time to still get to your closing statements. So here's the question, and the order of respondents will be first to Joe, then to Tom, then to Vicky, then to Mayra, and then to Karen. And so here's your question, which I did put in the chat. And the question is this: what can you and the City Council do to address climate change? Are there things that can be done to reduce the dependence on fossil fuels, including natural gas, in Woodland's built environment and transportation sector? So Joe, that is your question.
Well, thank you. Yeah, as a former employee of PG&E, knowing that the fires are increasing year by year, climate change, it's not a question anymore, it's a reality. The temperatures are going up, and Woodland has been thinking forward. As a Parks Commissioner, I voted in support of Woodland getting an intake at the river, $250 million project, making sure that we have surface water now from the river and not, contaminated water that we had in our groundwater. Not that it was bad, just that we're looking to the future. And so we have to prepare ourselves. By 2050, we have a goal as a city to reduce our emissions by 80%. And in order to do that, we have to start making those cuts now. And one of there's a multitude of things that the city can do and has been doing with solar energy, with the Tree Foundation. Planting trees, I think, is a great one. And so right now, I've already been in talks with the Woodland Tree Foundation to actually have their first public event. It's not scheduled yet. We're looking at next year sometime. But we have two parks, new parks in Spring Lake, the Spring Lake Park and the Rick Gonzalez Park, which I named. I was on the committee, the facilities committee that named the two parks. When I go to those two parks, they're half done. So I want to make sure those get done. But right now, next year, I'd like to see 100 trees get planted in each park, increasing our tree canopy, our urban forests. We're the city of trees, and I'd like to see Spring Lake look like the old part of town, have big, beautiful trees. But as a city, we have to look at our businesses and our residents and kind of get a community effort looking at these big challenges that we have coming towards Woodland here in the near future. So I'd really like to see Woodland continue to be a leader in the region and really focus also on our air quality. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, sorry to cut you off. We have the same question about climate change going to Tom.
Thank you, Eric. I'm totally in support of things that will help make our climate more successful. I was on the city council that adopted the climate action plan. I helped develop it. I basically founded the sustainability committee. There wasn't any such committee when I came to the council, and I chaired it for many years. We've now formalized it into a better structure. I fully believe in the adoption of solar. We have solar on our homes as well as downtown. Woodland has done a remarkable job of responding to solar implementation. We have had over 500 building permits issued every year for over 6 years now to install solar arrays on people's homes. That's really terrific in a community that has fewer than 20,000 houses. And as you know, all of our new homes have solar built in as a condition of state law. I fundamentally believe in the Woodland Tree Foundation. We've been a supporter of it. I've been to virtually every tree event for several years now, only missing when I couldn't be there. We planted 2,400 trees in 2 years when I was during my mayoral term. We're now at about 7,000 to 8,000 trees that Woodland Tree Foundation has been responsible for planting, including oak trees up and down 113 between Woodland and Davis. What we really need to focus now is the built environment. How can we make our houses more energy secure so that they're not leaking energy? It would help people, including the lower economic people in our community, if we could get their houses retrofitted. Something to work on. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, same question about climate change to you, Vicky.
Well, I think that the general plan encompasses a lot of the things that Tom discussed: the climate action plan, our sustainability committee, and our urban forest. I think as an educator, as a teacher, I believe that it should begin early. I think that we should focus on education and intervention as far as our climate action plan, so that students and residents are actively involved in promoting the responsibility that we each have to maintain an environment that is healthy and secure for everyone, for us and for our future generations. So I definitely believe that Woodland has taken steps to make sure that that's part of its general plan. The bike paths and routes to promote easier access for residents to get around, having homes and transit systems that are coordinated so that we can get from place to place without having to always drive our vehicles. Living again on the south end of town, having a grocery store that's within a few blocks and being able to walk to buy my groceries has been such a blessing and an enjoyable part of my day, to know that I don't have to get in my car and drive and try to reduce as much of our carbon emission as possible. Also to incentivize our business owners and residents to know that as a city, we appreciate the fact that residents are working towards preventing carbon emission into our environment, and that we as a city could find ways to, I know that businesses probably are receiving some sort of tax incentive because they're implementing solar panels, or that they're reducing carbon emission into our environment. So I think that our city is taking action, and we just need to encourage that all our residents and community is actively involved in making sure that we are aware of the dangers of climate change, and that we are making every effort to minimize its impact on our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. And the same question will go to you, Mayra, since you're the fourth one to respond. I'll say the question again. And the question is this: what can you and the City Council do to address climate change? Are there things that can be done to reduce the dependence on fossil fuels, including natural gas and Woodland's built environment and transportation sector?
Thank you. So I think the council must support the Sustainability Advisory Committee. I think that was an innovative thing to invest and develop that committee. That should be an active committee where there's open participation. You know, we see the impacts of climate change in our communities and throughout the region. We have to take ownership. I think it starts at home. You know, certainly solar, when it's accessible to folks, should be implemented. I have solar in my home, and throughout our development, we were able to enjoy that. Now, I think there's a lot of programs out there that folks may or may not be aware of. So I think it's important to provide education about some of those programs that are at the state and federal level that will make these investments in energy efficient homes more accessible to folks. A lot of it is about awareness. You know, I also agree with Vicky. I think this starts early. You know, I know my preschooler talks about not driving, and she thinks we can ride around town in our bikes all the time. And I have to take a hard look at myself and really decide when that should be done. The reality is, and something that I hope we all come together is, as we're looking at our beautiful city, just to get around, particularly from the west or the east side of the town, there isn't a lot of easy way to get around. So I think it's important for us to keep that at the forefront. Looking at that climate action plan and really holding ourselves accountable to developing these very clear oriented goals that we're going to stick to is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayra. All right, and to bring us home on this audience question, we have Karen.
Thank you very much. So Woodland has a very strong climate action plan. It's very ambitious. And I think that climate action starts not with program, but with education. I too think it starts young. I remember seeing a play when I was in elementary school about water conservation. And like any good little second grader, I went home and told my parents that we shouldn't water the lawn in the middle of the day. And that's how we learn. It's been something I've done ever since. We need to develop an education and outreach plan with the same sustainability committee. I'd like to look at creating some intern positions in our city government to help manage this particular area. A lot of our young people, our high school and college students are very, very interested in climate action and sustainability. I think that it's important to involve our school environmental clubs. I think all of our high schools and our middle schools and some of our elementary schools have them. What a great way for kids to get involved in city government. I believe we should require new homes to have all electric appliances, examine our city solar policies for efficiency and ease of use, and require energy efficiency improvements when ownership changes. I'm very in favor of developing a more bike-friendly city, and I'd like to advocate for more public transportation routes that will maximize ridership. Finally, as in my campaign, I pledge to refuse money from anyone associated with the fossil fuel industry. That's my personal contribution as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.